Welcome back to Underway Drifting and Dreaming. I'm Jennifer. My husband Jim and I are finishing up on a 3-month bow deck repair. We divided the work into 3 different parts. First, the chain locker, then removing the compromised area on the deck, and finally the fiberglass and replacement of the bow pulpit. Now there's been plenty of time to complete the repair since we overwintering in our home state of Texas. Jim is the biggest do-it-yourselfer. He prefers to do the work himself, and that way he can put all the parts in and make sure that it's done correctly. Our deck now is rock solid, and we're ready for cruising. Join us as Jim rebuilds the deck and puts everything back the way it was. The only thing that we're waiting for is a gasket for the windlass. All right, Jim, you are busy working again.
All right, so this is the patch or the bottom of the anchor locker, which is underneath the windlass. It's what I cut out, and you can see the Coosa board in. So I made a template, cut out the 1708 axle. So the 1708, the top part is a 17 ounce per square yards, and the matting is 8 ounce, so 1708. So it's great for tabbing in.
So that's going to go under the deck,
Yeah,
basically, in the anchor locker. So it's going up top.
So I'm going to do, I think, 3 layers will meet the thickness of the piece I cut out, which is right here. These are all the top pieces. So
That was yesterday's work that you did.
yeah, and so I'm replacing that because this stuff has water in it and it's all delaminated. So the top piece, or the bottom piece, is very thin. Actually, it's not as thick as the deck piece. That piece. So that will seal that all in. So matting, I'll do 2 of the mattings. 1 layer of the 1708 should meet the thickness of it. And then I've got to do another piece that's probably 1 inch all the way around, and that'll tie in to the existing fiberglass that's still there right now. So we'll cut these out. I'll have to sand the bottom, so I didn't put the peel ply, and so the epoxy will have to be sanded.
So just where it came through the holes at, or the
Yeah,
whole thing?
Through the holes. That's that one hole that stuff leached in there. But the whole thing, it'll just knock down.
Give it better.
Yeah, any little bumps
adhesion.
that are in there, and then also to allow it the epoxy to grip in there. So it won't take too much, but that should hopefully be the last of the sanding on the inside of it.
Wait, I dusted the whole boat.
There's fiberglass everywhere. Everywhere. So
All right.
this stuff, I'm in a little light breeze, so definitely if you're inside or something like that, you want to wear a dust mask, because these little fibers, microfibers,
They're
and stuff like
floating
that.
away.
And this has some type of, probably a glue that keeps this stuff together, and it's rolled.
All right, but all your big pieces are going in your garbage can that's right here, so
Yeah,
you're not putting
everything's
anything.
going in here, and I'm sweeping everything up, so it's very small.
I heard you vacuuming last night.
Yeah. Keep the vacuum close by, re-vacuum. And then, of course, when I'm using epoxy, I'm going to wear rubber gloves, but if you get some fibers on here, you wipe off. I use also a tape roller, and it takes off any little glass that might be in your skin. But preparation is key to everything. It's a lot of preparations, because once you get the epoxy going, the stuff has got to fit. You don't have time to stop and cut it to trim it. So I'll put this in, make sure it fits 2 or 3 times, and then always, when you wet it, it's going to stretch a little bit. So I do cut it a little bit shorter than it needs to be. And hopefully we get this done soon. So we are getting ready to put our patch in where our Coosa board is up there. Now this is all solid. It'll be our first piece that goes in. So I'm going to saturate it on this little table with plastic on it. So I'm going to saturate this one. I'm going to get this wet and see how well. It should move pretty easy, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do 2 at a time. This will be all saturated. I'll put this one on it. I'll match it up, and then I'll saturate this really well. While that's sitting, then I'll actually prime that, recheck that, make sure it's good to go. And then the idea is to be able to peel this off the plastic. It should still retain its shape. Come in like this. Start on one edge, and then
Bring it up to the uniformity thickness.
piece won't have a gap. The peel ply, let's pull it apart and see how the finished work goes. That's why you leave a little extra to be able to grab a hold of it. Alright, so it's a one-time use only stuff. Smooth as a baby's bottom. So there'll be a little bit. I'll probably just use a hand sand. And I think that's gonna do it. I don't think I'm gonna put the tabbing on it.
So he's gonna start out in just a small area this morning. Yesterday he was out here working, the winds were blowing 30 plus knots, and he was able to get the grinding done, but no glass put down at all. It was just too windy. So I'm gonna help him with the little part right here, and then he'll move on to the larger part up there where it says number 4, right on the bow. It looks great, nice and smooth. That peel that he used, it just made it's flat. Look at that. And so he's just got a little bit of filling to do here. And chasing Jim out, he just mixed up some epoxy resin. So he's using the Total Boat traditional resin and slow hardener. Today we're going to switch over to fast resin hardener here. And so the pilot house has become like a little workshop area. He does have paper down, so let's check out and see what he's doing. He did the small piece of fiberglass this morning. You can see him, he's pouring out the epoxy. Paper down to protect the deck from any fiberglass, and spreading it out. So this is just to have it wet before he puts the mat down. Using a little squeegee to move that epoxy around. Making sure it's all even. We we've been moving right along. I've been mixing epoxy, and so Jim can just sit here and keep on rolling. He's on layer number 7. Getting ready to move over to 8 here shortly. You need me to fix the shade, so...
No, that little bit's not going to hurt anything.
All right.
Dig green for St. Patrick's Day.
Here goes number 8. You need me to mix them up?
Yeah, go and start getting 5.
5? Okay.
Yeah, we'll need it pretty quick.
All right.
All right, looking pretty darn good. I think that's going to do it for layers. Now I'll come back and clean up the edges, sand them up, and come in with a fairing compound to fill in little voids. I'll have to clear out the little drain holes as anticipated. Clean up the edges. Same with the top here. It should be pretty darn level, but I'll have to sand it down, ferret, which is just a fairing compound, 2-part epoxy fairing compound. Then we'll come in with the primer, probably 2, maybe 3 layers of primer, sand in between. Then a top coat, sand that. I'll bring the top coat up and around. So a lot of sanding next couple days. But the last layers, I did I think 14, close to 14 layers there. 1708, and I think just two chop strands that I used to fill in some areas. And then here's the area below the windlass that I cut out to inspect. I'll have to re-drill the holes. I'll seal those with epoxy. You can see the drain holes here that I've got. I still need to sand in the edges and the corners, but the drain holes look a lot better. They're sealed there, nice and smooth. So the next step is to use the fairing compound and get any low spots, any voids, get those all filled in, smoothed out, sand that, and then move into epoxy primer. Sand that, prime it again, probably light sand, and then we'll start putting epoxy paint on it to match it up. I'm going to repaint the whole edge here all the way around, and then the sides. So a couple more days.
All right, my pilot house has been turned into the garage. What are you doing, Jim?
Total Fair, part A and B, fairing compound.
That's pretty sage green.
I'm using your good cooking or cutting board. actually works really good. So it's a quite easy. It's sort of like it's basically like Bondo, the auto Bondo, but much better quality and made for marine environment. So there's a couple little low spots that I'm gonna touch up, and just gonna do portion of it today around the edges, and to make sure it's how I want it, and then we'll go from there. So let me get this lids closed on here. I want to make sure it's level.
What's the timing for that?
3 hours or more. So it's
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't dry real quick.
Sorry.
I think it says sandable working hours 15 minutes to 1 hour.
Okay.
So
Your working time.
nothing crazy quick.
All right. I think I'm gonna back up a little bit here.
Get the air out of this. I used different paint sticks on each one to scoop out. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, so it's like tennis ball sizes of each. And mixed it together. Turned green. Want to make sure there's no like bands of orange or blue in there.
All right. I'll follow you out there.
Follow me out there. I found a couple of low areas here. So I drew.
Oh, okay. So you have elevation.
These are kind of lower areas, and it's kind of expected because here's the band, it goes around. There's a little bit at the edge I need to fill in that I had maybe like little air bubbles in there. So you'll see I'll just come in here like this.
So you just have some relief there. Okay.
Yeah. Perfectly smooth surface here. So the pulpit will be flush. This works pretty good. I don't want to use too much. These are just plastic
Scrapers.
Putty spatulas, so they bend. So you got to be careful. If you bend too much, then it'll just leave a crown.
Of course. And paint aisle at Home Depot.
If we look here, so there was a gap. You can see where the stick touches now. So it's touching almost the whole way. So I'm pretty happy with that. I don't want to build up too much at one time.
Correct.
So,
But you do want to have it as smooth as you can.
yeah, on it.
I found Jim. Look where he's at. He's up here working on the bow. What are you doing, Jim?
Fairing.
Fairing? Like going to the country fair?
No, like
Fried Oreos?
fairing frosting on a cake.
Fairing frosting on a cake. I'm thinking horses, but I think this is his third application of filling in the low spots. He's sanded in between the first and second. Let them sit overnight. So what's up after this?
So this will be another sand tomorrow, and then prime. I'll use an epoxy primer.
That's so pretty, that color. I like that.
It's like split pea soup.
Oh, it's more sage green. I guess.
Mix it till it's green. Yesterday, my green was more split pea soup,
Okay, had more orange in it.
and it didn't dry right away. So
All right, and I
But
bought him cutting board to
Yeah.
mix that on, so he has a flat surface to feel.
yeah, I thought this was gonna be too big of a cutting board, but it's actually
It worked out well. It was just inexpensive at Walmart. Oh, I didn't know you were gonna do that too.
yeah. There was 2 low spots here that I had to
All right.
work on here.
Tell how fast the wind's going. The neighbor's wind generator is on fire. Look at that. It's starting to slow down a little bit. It's been windy here in Kima, Texas. And then Jim will also take care of this. Is it grout? Not grout. Caulk. Because the 4200.
You're a little overzealous at that spot. So.
Alright. Yeah, it will just, while the pulpit's off, this is the best time to do it. Is this primer paint then?
This is a primer, a Petite.
Petite? What does that mean?
That's the brand.
Oh, that's the brand, because they didn't have any interlocks at West Wing.
Yeah, and so we'll use I was going to use the Interlux epoxy primer we had, but I don't know how old it is. Yeah. It's never been opened. And then I couldn't find a white Interlux. And so the Petite brand has a white one part polyurethane that I'm going to use instead of going with an epoxy paint. Since this is a small piece and it's hidden, I'm not too worried about trying to get epoxy and spray it, stuff like that, like it's on the rest. So this is going down.
That looks amazing.
Really smooth.
That truly looks beautiful.
Smooth as a baby's bottom. So that's the first coat of primer. So I'm going to sand it with like 220. And then this will just hold tape for the one hole. I'm going to take that off.
Oh, I put the extra tape that I was pulling off the...
Yeah, it's to keep the rain out of it for while we were gone.
All
I'm
right.
going to prime that and do another coat of primer today. All right, so the pulpit, so all the areas that had dissimilar metals, stainless steel, of course they pitted. It's hard to seal it, but I've sanded it down. I put zinc chromate on it. This is the first coat of primer. And the non-skid area I'm going to redo too. You can see like this area here, it had corrosion going into the non-skid. So I'll non-skid, I'll tape it. Non-skid, I have a non-skid granules that I'll redo it. So another coat of priming. I need to get into the holes here and clean those up a little bit better and reprime it. 2 coats of primer and then probably 2 or 3 coats of top paint.
All right, we're getting ready to do a dry fit of the bow pulpit. And so we're gonna have some boat friends come over and assist. I tied up the lines on there, and Jim and I carried it out. And so he'll go ahead and drill down these 6 holes here, and then put some epoxy on there to set, and then he'll be able to bring this back to the back deck and finish priming it and getting it ready.
Maybe just a smidge. Okay, hold it there. I'm gonna get a small screw, a pry bar. Hold on.
I just saw a boat. He came in and hit somebody else's pulpit. Ladies. All right, day 482. Just kidding.
483.
Wow, look how shiny that is. And this is the Lapete. What is it?
Pettit.
Oh, Pettit.
I was
Paint.
calling it petite, but it's Pettit.
Pettit? Okay. That is very pretty.
So some brush strokes, but that's the first coat. So I'm going to wet sand this today. And you have to wait a day for each coat. And I'm probably, I mean, it might just take 2 coats, but I'd like to go 3. But I've got to blend in to the new old paint, which is by wet sanding up to like 2000 grit and then buffing it out. So it'll be shinier than the old deck paint, but I think this summer we may end up just repainting all the...
Oh, all the way?
Yeah, up on the pilot house really needs it. The rest is
Oh,
pretty
roof
good.
shadows over there.
Look at the amazing job that Jim is doing. This is all going to be underneath the pulpit, so nobody's going to see that, but it's gorgeous. He's just trying to feather the paint in so it all blends in. I think he has one more coat. So all underneath the pulpit, it has been sink permitted, primed, and painted. This is in the morning, so there's a little dew on it. Jim will let the dew burn off. He's gonna spray it down, let the dew burn off, and put another coat, and then it will be flipping it over. We're getting there. This is our current situation on the bow. You can see how pretty that is. That is without the bow pulpit. So Jim's put several coats of paint. We will spin the boat around so the bow will be at the dock. And the ball pulpit will be installed. So Jim's already pre-drilled, and it's great to have wonderful friends on the dock to come assist with helping on the boat. Is today the day? You have a ladder set up, a little tarp for working under. Jim's been working to make sure the paint is blended because he painted up here. You can see it where it's a little shiny. And then there's a little brush strokes in there because the boat was sprayed when it was painted. And right now I can't see a difference. When I put on my glasses, I'm still not seeing it. So there's a fender here. And then I'll head up on deck and check out that bow pulpit. All right, it's just a little windy, but we have been dealing with wind for a very long time. Looks like Jim has the hardware. So there's that big cleat, 4 long bolts. The windlass he's still working on. He's got some fittings, gaskets. So it looks like it's all set to go. Amazing work. Jim's bringing the boat into the proper position, and so the neighbor will climb up the ladder and just support the the bow pulpit. You see him over here pulling it in, watching the fender. Wants to get as close to the dock as possible. Today's the day. And I'm not going to be using a hammer. I'm going to be using my body weight. I will be the ballast on the bow pulpit while Jim is connecting the washers and nuts in the chain locker. Jim, are you doing a happy dance?
2 more days.
2 more days? I think that's what you've been saying this whole time. 2 days.
So I was gonna pre-paint that, but we don't have everything we need, so I'm going to go ahead and mount it, and that'll be easy enough to paint. It's not too windy in the morning. Repaint the non-skid area. There's a couple areas there I have to redo with non-skid, and I won't put the rollers on until afterwards either. That'll help reduce the weight of it.
All right.
But
All right, I thought my job with the hammer was over. Little persuasion.
And that's more 4200 that you're gonna caulk underneath it?
Yeah, it's the exact same stuff.
Okay.
I thought about using the UV stuff, but the tube was plugged up, so I'll just use this.
Are you busy shining? What is this?
This is port side anchor thingamajig
Roller?
roller. And it goes on here. So I took it all apart, clean it up, polish it.
Nice.
They're in pretty good shape, so get all the rust marks off of them, coat them with the wax, and they'll be ready to go back on in a couple days.
2 days?
2 days.
So I see you have a template there. What are you doing? That's for the windlass?
So it matches the bottom of the windlass.
Okay.
So when I fiberglassed it, I intended to keep the original holes just underneath the glass that we put on here marked, but of course sanding and painting took those away. But I did have the original, one of the original holes, which acts as our position. And
Okay.
So I was able to pivot it, and then I measured off the front here, 1 7/8 to make sure it fits squarely. So I'll go ahead and drill these holes out today. I'm going to go a little bit bigger. Drill these out, and then I've already cut the fiberglass where the wires run. So you can see it already had the hole still there. So it was easy. I just started drilling holes and found the empty spot, and then I still have to sand it a little bit. But the Coosa board, the 1 inch of Coosa board and the fiberglass on the inside still needs to be cut through. And I haven't cut those just to keep it weather tight. So I'm going to drill those out today, and then we will reline the inside with epoxy, all 4 holes in these 2
Okay.
holes. And then we'll be able to mount the windlass.
All right. And then what about where the anchor line goes through? That will be another day?
Oh, yeah, no, we'll do that today too. So this is all open. This never came off. In hindsight, I should have taken it off and even had it chromed or something, but it's 5200 on there, so it didn't break the fiberglass, but that's okay. Anyways, so we'll re-drill through here. And we should be able to get the chain on hopefully in 2 days.
All right. Jim is back in the anchor locker. Maybe this is the last time?
2 more times.
2 more times.
All right, so I've got the holes drilled. This one is for the chain, the primary chain. This is for the electric wires that go up to the windlass. And then we have 4 for the windlass. So I've already drilled them out. And you can see the thickness of the Coosa board. It goes up through the wood. And so we are saturating all the exposed Coosa board fiberglass in the wood with resin epoxy.
All right.
To seal.
I think I have some core pieces here. There it is. And you had already drilled some of this from above, correct?
Yeah, so this is the thickness of the Coosa board, 1 inch, and then the thickness of the fiberglass. It would have gone down like this. So this is the inner. This piece didn't have the top because this was where the anchor, the chain goes through.
Oh, okay. I understand.
The other pieces are up top that I drilled down for the wire. The wire had a full coating of fiberglass on it.
All right. smart. Outlining your template. So you're just gonna run a bead of silicone around those little dots there?
Yeah, all the way around. It'll flow out and cover the dots.
So my job is not using a hammer today. I'm gonna help thread the wires in those holes right here as Jim is putting the windlass in place. All right, we just had a severe storm go through, and Jim is out here working on the deck. What are you doing now? I get new foot pedals?
New foot switches.
Ooh, and black. Nice. Old ones are looking a little rough.
Looking a little rough. This lid was broken. They were working. But basically, it's a rubber cover. Pushes down on a switch that engages the power for up and down. And since I'm redoing, we installed the windlass, I still have to get a new gasket for this. We'll repaint this later. But I'm reconnecting all the wires, and the wires connect to the bottoms of these. So since we had these, I'm going to go ahead and install new ones.
How will I know which one's up and down since they're black?
You got to look up and down.
Oh, awesome.
So, which one was up? So these were just put on with silicone, which is perfect. The 5200 would have peeled all this fiberglass decking up. So silicone is all it's needed.
So 4200 or
Yeah,
different silicone?
4200. 4200 is a medium strength adhesive. So it has some adhesive qualities, but more
Water sealant?
water sealant. So
Okay.
it's an adhesive sealant. 5200 is just an adhesive, which is very strong adhesive. So yeah, this is inside was perfect. It's been coated with silicone. I'll put another coat in there, but it's balsa wood. It's about a 2-inch core, and it's
Okay.
solid. So there's no
Awesome.
no water, and that's like say our original survey tested everything. Just they couldn't get underneath the pulpit. So these are good. So the new ones will go in, and I think they'll look pretty good. I'll go ahead and get these cleaned
They
up
look nice.
and some 4200 on it and reseal it, and then I'll be able to wire it up and we'll have power to the windlass today.
Wow, so maybe this afternoon we can get the chain back
Yeah, I've
on.
got the 2 rollers to put on.
Yeah, the rollers still need to go on.
We'll do
They're
the
all ready.
final paint once those are on. I want to get those on and installed, and then I'll cut around everything. It'll be all right.
All right. Yeah, the anchor road, it's all wet now. We had a torrential downpour. So we'll leave that line out just another day or so. All right, they're done. With the sun setting behind us.
So, as you see, I'm going thicker. Needs non-skid on it.
And so you have that non-skid right here with you.
Yeah. So this is a non-skid.
Legacy grip.
This is from our shop at home. This is the non-skid. I'm gonna sample a little bit over here. All right. So I've non-skidded other boat decks before, and so you get it a little wet. So the corrosion came up into this non-skid here and here, so I sanded it down. So you see I'm gonna prime it here with paint.
All right. So this is paint that we already had on the boat?
Yeah, this is actually,
The almond?
this is Rust-Oleum. This is the paint we painted the lock or the deck plates in the engine room with.
Oh, okay.
Might have put that on a little bit thick there, but the loose stuff will come off. That's the idea.
Okay.
put it on heavy and then new stuff will come on. But this stuff matches really well. It's a tan. The paint that's on it is about $180 a quart.
$180 a quart. Cha-ching, because it says marine.
Well, it's an all craft.
Oh, it's
paint.
all craft.
And I'm not real impressed, honestly, with that all craft. It's, I mean, it's holding up. But for deck paint, I think this is fine. And it's going to match. I mean, it's almost identical color. I hit a spot on the deck that had a chip in, and I did a sample with it, and you can't even see where it's at. So I think we're good. And I've thinned this out with that acetone, 5% acetone. You don't want it too strong, but this is kind of a test area, good test area on the pulpit. I don't think I'd paint the whole boat with it at all.
Yeah.
But for this area, I think it's plenty. And it holds up well. I'm going to try not to paint that non-skid just yet. I will. I'll let it dry out a little bit.
Excellent. Nice straight line. You need another glove?
Yeah.
Looks really good, Jim.
So I've already sanded. I'll touch up the white. And then I've retapped all the holes for the rollers. The bolts are in there right now to keep water out.
Jim has been busy working on the bow deck and underneath this bow pulpit. Well, we still have another roller to put on and the anchor. Unfortunately, Jim fell in the lazaret today and hurt his shoulder, so we're kind of on hold for a few days until he starts feeling a little bit better. He did put oil in the windlass. We're missing the gasket, so that is one more thing that we need to do. But the deck has been rebuilt. It is rock solid. And I will go ahead and show you a view from down below. Thank you for joining us during this maintenance, the part 2 of the series of rebuilding the deck. The bow pulpit looks great. It's all caulked underneath. See the anchor over there. So we're gonna go ahead and say the job's complete. We'll get the rest of the items done. Just have to find the gasket. They do not make the gasket for the windlass anymore. He's been searching many places. And then as soon as he's feeling better, we'll go ahead and test the windlass and get the anchor chain, the anchor rod, and the anchors back up on deck.